Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to conclude this episode. We're gonna take her home, and I think that we're going to begin where we began. What happens after the deal is made between Alessandra and Lodewijk? Do both of you have things that you want to do?
Yeah, I've got a thing that I wanted to do.
Okay, Alessandra, what do you do after you've been given access to this fund?
Um, it's not necessarily to do with the fund,
No,
but
no,
just
but
like another
yeah,
thing.
subsequent to it.
I want to I want to know from like your point of view, what if any members of the Queen Circle are like in my home?
Yeah, I was
And
wondering. I was wondering which of the things you were going to go after, the Queen's Circle or the one, like, because we haven't seen you have any like conversations or like alone time with the King in fucking forever too. So
we haven't done that either.
yeah,
Yeah.
either one is good with
Um,
me. It just occurred to me that both of those things are true. And if you need a member of the Queen's Circle, there is the regular circles available to you as a way to conjure them forth.
yes. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to like have like hash out what the relationship with the king looks like at this point in time, like what like where that stands. Um, but I guess yeah, that finding out what the state of the kingdom is would be a valuable first step to like trying to take over the administration thereof or
Mm,
help out.
okay.
So probably talking to the king would be a good thing.
Okay. So he's a relationship. You don't have to circle him up. So
Yeah.
you can. I'll let you set this scene, and I'll offer some
I would
options.
like to ask you in terms of how the household is arranged. Uh, he has his own room, right?
Yeah, he's the king.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Um,
anything, all right, let's talk about this, and we can talk about this as a group. What's the like common thing here? Like, there's the marriage bed or whatever, and then your husband died. Would you
mhm.
have just been like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep sleeping in this big ass bed all by myself, or would it have been left alone? Like, it's the master
Hmm.
bedroom.
Yeah, yeah, that's a question because I feel like if the king were going to visit you, then you would give up the best room to him.
But it's still your house, right? Like, there's a sanctity there. There's a lot of complex shit going on, but you're a rule breaker, so you tell me, I think.
Okay. I think that Alessandra is probably not stepping quite so far as to like just be like, all right, king guy, we are sharing a marriage bed now.
You just pull out the couch and be like, "Yo, dude, there you go. Just sleep on the futon, the guest
No.
room. Just move the TV out of the way. This is usually my office, but the Wi-Fi is pretty good upstairs. I'll just work on my laptop." Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're not sleeping in the same room. That's totally
That's pushing it real far.
totally out of yeah.
Um I feel like Alessandra and the way that she behaves would probably, regardless of what the ordinary way to do things is she would be like, I'm running the house, this fancy, awesome bedroom. Like, that's another thing. Like, would married couples generally share the same bedroom? Maybe not. Yeah,
I
they
think they
would.
probably do because that's where you make babies.
Yeah, but sometimes you just go to your spouse's room and make the baby and then go back to sleeping in your own
I
room.
think there's a room where you're supposed to sleep together because sleeping together is for making babies. It is
Okay.
the marriage bed, and like it's yeah. You have
So
other
she,
rooms. Like in practicality, you've like there's beds in other rooms in the house, and you might have a room that you consider your own. But like the proper thing to do is yeah.
okay, well, maybe like when Gavril died, she's like, this fancy master bedroom, whatever, is mine by rights because I'm the head of the household or what have you. And so she would have moved her crap from her like spousal bedroom into the fancy head of the household room. And maybe as like a matter of respect and also trying to make him comfortable, she like switched that back over in like when the king came to like stay here, she was like, all right, like you have Gavril's old room and I'll have my old room, and this like going back and forth for like the banging would happen just like it used to when she was married.
Okay.
And maybe like these are her servants, so maybe she's a little less like subterfuge about all of it.
I mean, yeah, like up till now, you did the deed in his house.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, are you just like, all right, everybody, staff meeting. I'm having sex with the king. Don't tell nobody. You're gonna hear some weird noises coming out of the room the king is at. Just ignore them. Don't tell anybody. And if you tell anybody, I'll have you killed.
I feel like there's like maybe it's not her, it's Adeline, and she's just like, all y'all motherfuckers, shut your mouth. Like,
so how common? How common is this knowledge, or are you just being like, Adeline, you're the new Eugenia now? Because I'm telling you right now, if the more people that you let know, the way more likely people are going to gossip.
Right, of course. I feel like it's kind of Adeline as the new Eugenia.
Good. Okay. Cool. Andrew, if you're looking for someone to push down a hole, I got someone lined up for you.
Thanks.
You gotta take away my magic first. Only take away my magic.
I'll give you bonus magic.
Yeah, there's definitely like
Deal.
The way that the house is arranged, there's definitely a very easy way to get from like the room where the lady of the house has her things and the room that is technically the marriage.
Okay, well let's find that out.
So it's not like
we? Yeah. Because I think you're making some like housewise or whatever rolls here to make some establishments, because you're saying like you want to have engineered your house. The king's castle has lots of secret bullshit going on. Yeah. I don't think your house would have been built for that, because
it's not secret bullshit. It's just like it's a short walk. So
if you would like your house to be architecturally predisposed to helping you sneak around in it, I think that's worth a roll.
Okay.
Do you have like a manor wise or a state wise or something you can roll here?
I have a state wise.
All right, let's have you roll a state wise. I'm just going to say ob1. And that will just establish, if you can get it, that'll establish that the house is helping you.
Wise. I don't have a state wise as a roll. It's B2. Okay. Let's open that up here.
Well, I mean, if you're opening it, you could use another skill if you'd rather.
I have it. I just haven't typed it into my sheet yet. I've never rolled it.
Right. Okay.
So ob1 estate wise.
Yeah, just ob1.
Okay. Let's see if this is a thing. It's totally a thing.
All right. So your particular estate has some architectural business that allows you to move quickly from place to place. If you
maybe it's just like adjoining like suites or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I don't have to go into a hallway or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So you've set it up that you are in a room that you can access the king's room.
Without too many eyes.
Without too many eyes.
Make the journey.
Yeah. Okay. And the people who know about your affair is Emma Greyblade.
Mm-hmm.
And the new Eugenia.
The new Eugenia. Her name is Adeline.
And nobody else, right?
No.
Okay.
There's nobody else in the household that would be a party to that.
Okay. Cool. That sounds good. So where do we see you and the king? Are you like, after a long day of him managing people, you've slipped into his room, or?
Yeah, no, I feel like this is because the past month I've been making the seduction tests. So like this is a common occurrence, and maybe it's like has become a habit where like at the end of the day, whether we're doing things together, like in the big room of people yelling at the king about their problems, or doing like separate things, like me trying to look over the books and being like, this is shit's fucked. At the end of the day, like I would come through whatever adjoining room and we would have time together. And I feel like the way that Alessandra is kind of has been trying to lay this out is in a very like a softer way, like a more because before it was very much like you call me whenever you need me,
Yeah.
and like it's kind of like a always very sexual kind of seduction.
Totally.
But in this aspect, she has control over the situation.
Yeah, he's in your house now.
Yeah, and so
You're
she's
like, I roll up in your bedroom when I feel like it, son.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so she's trying to make it more, and also because he was like crazy fucked up last, like when like they got out of the castle, like she's been trying to be like softer with him
Okay, all right.
about all of it. So maybe more like comfortable and less like pressing all the time for things that she wants and needs.
So when you come into his room, the room is cold because he's got the door to the balcony open. And the fire is low, right? He hasn't had a servant put wood on it in a while, and he's standing in the doorway, and he's wearing, like, he's not dressed for bed. He's not wearing his, like, night shirt or whatever, but he's taken off his courtly king business, and he's just like standing in the window, and he's in front of the court all the time, so he's shaving because that's the thing you do, but he's let his hair grow really long. And he's taken to like leaving it down. So yeah, he's just standing in the moonlight, looking out at the frozen town, and the wind is kind of like blowing snow drifting into the room. And so it hangs for a moment, and then catches the part of the room that's still warm, and then melts and disappears. And he's standing there, and he's definitely underdressed for the activity.
Yeah, I think Alessandra would do the whole like, oh, it's freezing in here. Like, what are you doing? Come out from there. It's like it's cold.
And he turns to look at you, and he says, "Huh, I had not noticed." And he closes the door, and he looks at the fire, and he says, "I'll call a servant. I'll have them bring wood." And he goes to the door.
Oh, it's fine. We don't need anyone to. It will warm up, I'm sure. Come to me.
And he turns. He's on his way back to the door, and then he turns and stops and turns to look at you. But he doesn't like approach you.
Is something on your mind?
Always.
Of course. Something that I can help with. Share your burdens, please.
You've helped so much already.
It is my pleasure to do so.
And he takes a few steps towards you, and he says, "I was just wondering about my father. What he would think if he were to see Carpathia this way. I cannot but think he would be disappointed."
Surely not in you.
"If not me, then who? Our ancestors built that castle, Alessandra. It pains me not to dwell within it. You've done so much for the court, holding it here. The kingdom owes you much, but my place is there."
The kingdom may owe me, but you owe me nothing. And that place, you know as well as I, the things that dwell there are not things that any king could have expected, or you have handled what has been dealt to you graciously. We can only do what we can to... There must be a way that we can recover from this. I can help you.
And he turns to look at you, and he says, "I feel I am lost in a night that will not end. Even by day, the sun's light barely breaches the clouds. You have done so much to ease this for me, but what good is a king without a crown without a throne, no castle in which to dwell. I'm exile in my own land.
And I think that Alessandra is
He's,
like,
he's
what good is
still
a king?
he's still at a distance from you.
Yeah, and he's like, what good is a king without a crown, without a castle? And she's like, in her head, like, without an heir, like,
Yeah.
right, like that's the thing that like echoes for her. And so she would walk towards him,
Mm-hmm.
and like take his hands in hers, and like rub them between hers to like
His
warm
hands
them
are
up.
cold. Yeah.
Yeah. And she says, like, you have so much weight on you. You work so hard for these people, but do you not think of yourself, of your future, of ours? There are things that there are more things yet that I could do to help ease you, and also to can I be blunt with you, my love?
And he looks you in the eyes for the first time in this conversation, and you sense a wariness there, a distrust, right? That like there's a moment where he's not sure what to say. What do you do or say? Because it could tip either way, right? That
Yeah.
he could be like, yes, I trust you, please, or be like, like turn away.
I think that so she sees like his hesitation, and I think that she wants to push it in the like, yes, I trust you direction, obviously. I'm trying to see if there's something that I can like a thing.
I mean,
that I can,
if your intent is to get him to listen, then yeah, there needs to be a task here. I just need to know the angle.
yeah, exactly. I'm trying to like see what my I feel like in the way that she's trying to be like softer, it's more of a I mean, it's either just like persuasion with something forked in, or like soothing platitudes. Like, it's fine. Like, I have a thing that I think can help. Just like let me speak with you, or like I feel like this is.
I mean, so here's like a universal soothing platitude. You can trust me, right? Like I'm not going to hurt you. Those are soothing platitudes.
Yeah, that's I think that's the thing. Is she's just like, yeah, you can like you can trust me. I have.
I mean, you don't have to say it with words, right? It's in the look and like the feeling of trust that you've built, but you're still gonna have to roll.
Yeah, no, maybe he does this whole like taken aback a little, and she like stops like moving his hands between hers and just like holds them, and like looks at him, and then repeats the statement like, you are still my king. Can I speak frankly with you?
Let's find out.
Okay.
Make a soothing platitude test.
All right.
The difficulty is his will.
Oh Jesus.
He's used to you soothing him. His will is 6, but I'll give you an advantage die because he wants to be soothed, but I think there is a challenge.
No, this is impossible. Oh, willful people are assholes.
So if you fail,
don't I know it?
If you fail, he's just going to change the subject and pretend like you don't actually have anything to say. He'll just keep talking about the things that are concerning him. Getting a willful man to just fucking shut up for 5 seconds and listen to you. It's challenging. It's challenging stuff.
Why did I choose soothing platitudes for this? God damn it.
I don't know. I mean, you get some forks.
Well, I guess this is adultery.
You are participating in adultery. I don't know that it applies here though, because like this isn't that adulterous. This thing, you're not like, yeah, I don't think so. Seduction though, probably.
Seduction then.
Yeah.
Manipulation wise, I'm definitely manipulating him.
So you're trying to calm him down to.
Yeah. Noble wise, he's a noble.
He's a noble.
Does persuasion fork into soothing platitudes?
I think you can fork it. Yep.
Okay.
Persuasion and falsehood both fork into soothing platitudes because he can't really trust you.
Oh, wait, are you saying I should fork falsehood?
You can also fork falsehood.
I don't want it to be like a lie.
Okay, all right.
I want her to like. She very much wants to help, and this is like the thing that she thinks it's in her own good interest too, but it's not necessarily.
Yep.
Okay, so that's 4.
And then astrology, if you want to use it.
Okay, yeah, sure. Astrology.
But it could backfire, but roll everything except astrology, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so this damn soothing platitudes with 4 help. 5 because you gave me that extra one. For he's used to.
Yep.
No, Arfa base ob is 6.
Base ob is 6. Yep.
Oh motherfuck! Like, there's no point in rolling the.
You had so many dice.
Well, 2 successes.
Today's
like
episode is brought to you by the number 1.
Seriously.
The maximum number of successes that can be rolled today.
Oh no! Oof. So I think what he does is instead of listening to you or letting you talk, you give him the big eyes and the like. May I? He just kisses you. He just like pulls you in close and
like, we're not talking.
Like he does. It's not like we're gonna have sex now, but it's a like, shh. I'm changing the subject.
The
Yeah.
one time where I don't want him to smooch me.
Yeah. So he kisses you, and it's not just like a peck. It's like there's some passion to it, but and then he stops, and he turns away a little bit and holds you kind of at arm's length, and he says, with the cold, I feel I've lost my flesh. I feel a man carved of stone. My bones are ice. But you, and he like pulls you to him, and he says, you have been so warm. So he's like holding you close to him. But it's clear that he's just like, I want to hear, if you want to have a conversation, I want to hear about it.
No, then she's just gonna be like, you don't feel like ice to me, and like lead him to the bed and etc.
Yeah.
If it's not gonna work, she's not gonna push it.
I mean, you could try, right? But with him, there's always the risk that if you fail, he's gonna get annoyed or mad, right? He'll be like,
still the king, and he still has like power, and she's very used to taking things exceptionally like slowly with him because she doesn't want to like cross a line she can't come back from.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you have to roll. I think he wants to be seduced.
Well, I wanted to work on I guess I worked on it.
You did. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, meanwhile, Ludwig, what are you doing?
That is a very good question.
From the saucy seduction to the accounting.
Yeah, much more. I don't know where I was going to go with that. Yeah, I need to get this contract written up. So I think I'm going to circles up a contract writer.
That's right. You get to seal the deal. Okay.
Yeah, I was double checking this, and in the resources chapter, it's use circles to find people to hire and use resources to pay them. So let's do that.
So you're gonna circles up a bookkeeper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have read and write, but I don't have them as high as I'd like them to be. And there's a specific, I can't remember if it was a wise that I found during burning that was specifically for writing contracts. I can't remember what it was called though.
Juhanian. While the king is checking out Elisandra's figure, Ludwig is preparing to check out Elisandra's figures.
Yeah, very true.
Okay.
Okay, so I would like to circles up this specialist dude. I was looking at these rolls. So their occupation. Name a role. Contract smith.
Right. Someone who smiths contracts.
Yeah. Specific occupation, an occupation rare or unique within your
I
setting.
believe-
Plus 3 ob for circles.
I believe the title of this job is a notary.
Yeah. Nice. I don't think there are many of those people, so I'm happy to take the plus 3 ob on circles.
Yeah, I think they're pretty rare or unique within the setting. But you also will get you've got a rep and affiliation, right? Like this dude, you like your organization is very much his bread and butter. Like he's been very busy of late. Maybe you brought him here. You sent away for him back to your home country to be like, look, I've got business enough now. Please send us one of the special notaries. I need him.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's less like you know him and more whether he'll be available to you.
Yeah. I'll work out the dice I have in my pool if you don't mind working out what you think the full
So
ob
base
should be
ob,
for.
base ob 1 plus 3. He is a lower rank station or class. I think he is an employee.
He's my employee. Yeah.
Or not your employee, but he's about to be. But his disposition is the same and time and place is like normal for him. So 1, 4, 5.
Okay. Well, I start with circles of 3. Then I have my reputation, my affiliation, which I'll both put in. Which takes me up to 5 dice, and you can fork in wises, which I would love to do. I'd like to fork in merchant wise.
Merchant-wise, yeah.
Pardon, sir?
Merchant-wise, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I don't know whether currency wise or commodities wise is more useful for writing up contracts.
This is for your link test before you make the circles roll?
No, it's part of the circles roll. I checked. You can fork in wises.
Well, it's not a skill, so you can't fork. The wises says appropriate wises are used as a link test. For
Oh,
circles.
use as link tests for circles.
So you can make the link. You can make a link test first.
Yeah, I need to make a link test
Okay.
because otherwise the circles test is too hard.
Okay, so let's do that first.
Um,
And you're using which wise?
merchant wise.
Merchant wise, yeah. Okay. I think 2 merchant wise.
Okay, and I can't fork into the wise that is the link test.
No, because you're testing that wise.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. 2 against 2 then.
Okay. Hey, there you go. So you don't get the bonus die unless did you get a 6? No. So you don't get the bonus die, but it also doesn't penalize you. But you do get to mark a difficult merchant wise test.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why I rolled that in
Can
that case.
anyone other than Dave succeed?
So you're smart.
That's the
You're
question.
you're wise enough to know where to look for him, but not enough to head him off at the pass before he goes off to his next business. So now you're going to make the circles test,
Okay, that's a 5 against 5 again.
and that one's 5 on 5. Okay.
All right. If Dave
If you
makes
succeed
this,
at this,
Dave
I'm
is-
done.
Everyone will hate you. Yeah.
Dave is fucking blessed if he succeeds.
Well, I mean, it's just that the game, like that Roll20 has some bug in it where his account rolls good and ours don't,
That's
which
not
would
how-
honestly explain a lot.
All right.
It's just like if your name is Dave, oh yeah, sure, you get some rolls. If your name's Andrew, nah, you
one's-
don't get
one's
shit.
for you.
You don't get shit.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
You got a 3, but you have 1 6.
Got a 6.
Do you want to use a fate?
Fucking go. Fucking go. Come on, 6.
Where to dog?
And another one. Ah,
No.
fuck.
All right. So here's what happens. So you go to his office because he has a little office in a neighboring district to where all the merchants are. He's very busy, and you go there and you speak to his assistant, and his assistant, who is learning to be a notary, tells you with a great deal of apology. We see this. You're in this little shop with the frosted windows. It's a very like kind of Christmassy scene. It's busy. There's all these paper. The place smells of ink. This guy has ink all over his like shirt and his hands because he's writing paperwork, preparing it to be notarized. And and he takes off his little cap and kind of wrings it nervously in his hands. A little pair of glasses on his nose. And he says, Mr. Axter, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you, Luca is going to be unavailable for quite some time. You see, we've had quite a large contract come in, and he is just simply not able to do any more work. I cannot say. I am so sorry. If you have contracts, I can certainly add them to the backlog, but like I could not tell you when they will be available for his work. He's all booked up.
Okay, how do I want to spin this? I mean, I guess I go persuasion like normal, but yeah, I say, oh, I'm glad the business is doing very well, and I'm happy to see that you're being kept busy. I hope he's treating you well in this difficult time, giving you enough help and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you know this guy by name, right? His name is Albert. He is a journeyman, an apprentice. Yeah.
Well, Albert, I hope, he's so busy, Luca's still giving you time, making sure that you know the things that you need to in the future. I can't imagine that, wow, you say a big contract came in. Oh.
He nods and he says, "Oh, yes, it's been quite a lot of work, but I am learning a great deal. Back in the Federation, we had 7 or 8 apprentices doing my job, but they did not all want to come this far east. It's very cold here." And he like rubs his hands together near a candle.
It hasn't always been this cold, Albert. Things are changing. Speaking of which, I would just feel so terrible if I didn't let Luca in on this. I've been making friends in the court itself, actually.
And he nods politely, like listening to your story, like he's used to merchants bragging about their conquests.
Yeah. You're aware of the Lady Alessandra and her hosting the court now? The king?
He kind of squints at you and he says, Alessandra,
Corvidae.
Oh, yes, the House of Corvidae. Of course, I read up upon them on the journey over. Interesting house, long history.
Well, she is the center of the court as it now is, without the castle. And I have just landed a deal with her, specifically. I just wouldn't feel right not going to Luca. It's such a good opportunity for him to make that connection with me, and I just don't want him to miss out.
And he puts his hands up and he's like, I understand that everything that you bring before the master, well, it's always been very lucrative for us, but I simply cannot move you up in the order. And
I'm not sure if you can't. I want to persuade you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're simply persuading him that it's in his master's best interest. Is this one of those like your boss will be mad if he finds out you didn't do this? So I imagine, just for the sake of it, I imagine that Albert is a fastidious, like a bit geeky. He has these like big blonde fucking mutton chop sideburns. And he wears one of these like floppy hats most of the time, and he's balding before his time. Like he's got like a receding hairline, yeah, he always dresses nicely, but he only has a few outfits because he couldn't pack much to come on the journey, and everything he has is got like ink stains on it from how hard he's worked.
I wonder, am I persuading, or could I angle this as haggling with him? Because it specifically says negotiating prices, terms of purchase, and contracts. So we
Haggling would be if it was legitimate. You need to convince him to do you a favor.
Okay. Yeah, I do need to convince him to do me a favor. All right, I'm gonna roll persuade.
Okay.
Now we get to fork some things, and now we get to go back to the normal situation of things.
Okay.
Um,
So I think he's got a slightly higher than average will. I'm gonna say his will is I'll say his will is 3. So not like colossal, but
okay. In which case, I'd like to fork in. I want to fork in administration just because I know how his schedule works, and I will suggest to him like specifically ways like just like, oh, this person, this can wait. This isn't a time sensitive issue. I'd like to fork in merchant wise because
this
we're all
is
mercantile.
Yep.
And he's not a bandit. He's not court-wise. Oh, actually, instead of administration, what makes more sense is bureaucracy.
Yes.
Finally,
absolutely.
That fits. But I don't think I can fork both, can I?
No. So you're like, listen, these things happen all the time. You understand bureaucracy. Yeah.
Is it a commodity? Is his time a commodity?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. In which case, I'll have those two.
Don't modify people, Dave. It's rude.
I'm going to slide him something nice over the table so that it's worth his time to work to free up the schedule.
That's a whole other thing, right? Persuasion is one angle. If you fail at this and you want to bribe him, that's a resource test.
Man, I could just have fucking done it in the
Yes,
first
you
place.
could have just bribed him, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I forked in the end, just the 2. Base obstacle 3.
Yep.
Oh,
so close.
Oh, did I use up my last
You
fate?
did. You've used up your fate. Yep. So you notice. Okay, so here's the thing that you notice. You try to persuade him, and he's just very politely, like he's done this dance before, and he says to you, Mr. Axter, I simply can't. I understand your business is very important to us. And while he's talking, he's like fiddling with a ring that you've never seen him wearing before. He's got this like big gold ring on, and he's just kind of fiddling with it. And he says, I simply cannot change the order. We have so much, and like pats a pile of paperwork. He's like, we have so much work to do already that if I were to change anything, it would set us back weeks. Please, if you're willing to wait, I will assure you that it will arrive on your desk in due time as quickly as we can work. The master has been talking about bringing on another apprentice. It's very hard. You know, this kingdom, they don't value education the way that we do at home.
No. You'd like some help, would you? Well, that's very interesting, actually, because I have this idea of, and like, the cash isn't necessarily cash. It can be like favors, right?
I mean, you just make a resource test to get what you want. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering in that case, when I have my cash dice, what I put them in, if you just roll resources.
It doesn't super matter. Like, what you could say, a resource test here might be like, you know what? I'm going to send you one of my secretaries. Like, I have people who know how to write and they can do paperwork. I'm going to send you one to help you. Wouldn't that expedite the process? And that's a resource test, right? That's taking a thing you have and lending it to him. And you can use your cash die as part of that if you want.
Okay, so you don't put it into other skills. You use it.
Yeah, it's just on top of. It's like you're helping yourself with cash.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that then.
Okay.
What difficulty do you think it would be to
Depends.
just get?
Are you straight up bribing him? Or are you just like, here's a bag of gold. I'm going to leave it on the table and go home and let me just weigh my contract down with this bag of gold? Or is it
No,
like
I'm-
offering
I'm-
help?
I'm an honest businessman.
Of course.
I would I'd pay for him to get help.
Yeah.
Albert and I've known each other so
What a helpful guy you
amount
are.
of time.
Okay. All right. So basically hiring someone, you're paying someone to do labor for him, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. It occurs to me looking at the like maintenance obstacle, there's obstacles for like hiring adventurers. So if the king wanted to hire some adventurers to go into the castle for him, then they could. I'm gonna say a servant's wages. It's not as good as it's just an ob2 resource test.
Okay, I'm not going to bother using my cash dice because that seems insane.
Yeah. Okay.
This is when I fall to the curse that you all have had for the rest of the session, and I fail ob2 on a 7.
So it's paltry for you to just send someone to like take care of this, like help.
Right. That's fine.
No problem. It's not a great success, but it's a success. So yeah, when you say that, so how do you phrase it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, that is difficult. I understand. It's not my worth to get mad at you. I'm not some noble who's going to look down their nose just because you turn them away. You know what they're like.
Can he nods and he says, "Oh yes, Mr. Axter, I am learning difficult folk. I'm so glad that we did away with them."
He laughs and says, in fact, I tell you what, since you're working so hard, being so diligent and busy, I'm sure Luke won't mind, but I'd like to lend you a hand. Why don't I send over, we just had a young woman on over at one of the other businesses, learning to notarize as well. She could do with learning.
I love the idea that you have someone who's like doing paperwork for you, and one day someone shows up and they're like, you're doing this now. Like, stop whatever you're doing. Your job is now to go and help this notary that you've never met before.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And they could do worse off than learning from you, I'm sure. Yes, why don't I send her over, help you out a bit, manage this workflow, get things sped up in the process.
Yeah, and he kind of puffs his chest out a little bit, like now, because you're basically telling him, like, wouldn't you like someone to boss around? And so he's just like, well, that's very kind of you, Mr. Axter. If I were to be able to unload some of this paperwork on someone else, certainly I would be able to attend to whatever business you have at hand. And he looks around and he says, and you would be able to do this for me discreetly. I wouldn't want Luca to think that there's any impropriety going on.
Oh, of course. Yes. I will have someone send over the details of where she's currently working. You can send a letter, correspond there, have her do the work.
It's so good, yeah, because you're basically hiring someone to do his grunt work that he doesn't want to do, and he's going to just send all the boring paperwork to her.
That is how this works.
Oh,
you just find someone who's at the bottom, and then you just make a new bottom because of money.
Right. Okay.
And then you use that to push them up.
Lovely.
Easy.
Okay. So, great. And as an aside, this opens up an opportunity for you to figure out what the big deal is, because now the contracts are being like processed by someone who's in your employ, right? So if you're curious about the big deal that they're going on, there's an avenue. So make a note. You could pursue that later if you want. Yeah. So he stands up and he puts out a hand to shake your hand, and then looks at it, realizes there's ink all over. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And like he's wiping it with a handkerchief.
Never let it be said that I'm above. You do good work. It's important work. And he sends out a hand and he like ink on it. And he like rubs it on the front of his shirt because like who the fuck cares?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm just gonna burn this shirt later. I don't even care. So you shake hands and he says he says to you, he says, "Oh, Mr. Axter, you are a delight to work with. We should really go and get a beer together sometime soon. I found a pub just on the edge of the bad part of town. Now, they're normally, this Carpathian, it's disgusting, but they have a brew. They're made of something with juniper in it. It's delightful. I will show you this. And he shakes your hand and he says, he says to you, I heard a joke the other day, Mr. Exeter. How is a noble like a duck? And then he like pauses and he's like, I can't remember how it goes, but I'll think on it. And when we have that beer, I'll tell you the rest. Now I should get back to this, and like looks at the big pile.
Yeah. He nods and smiles. He will do it as well because this person is useful to him now.
I mean,
as a way, someone doesn't have access to yet.
Okay, cool. All right, so you and him have this short talk, and he'll definitely get to your he'll get to your business.
And the specifics of it, I've got like notarized now.
Excellent.
Notated, I guess. I don't have it notarized because that's why I need the gut words.
Now, you did fail the circles, but you managed to wedge in the success. Otherwise, the circles thing here was that the notary himself was not available, but you made some other rolls and turned it around. So
yeah, I need to find out why that is because
yes, and also Luca will know that he talked to you. This guy will talk to his boss, not about the thing you paid him to keep quiet because he's embarrassed about that, but Luca he'll get around that, like, you've got some stuff going on, but with the nobles, but that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't specify what it was. I didn't want to totally out Alessandra, but it's like, look, I have this big contract, which is like you say, it's a brag thing, and you've got to do it to get people's attention.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, all right. So look, you head out having accomplished your goal.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. Agatha or Joy. Either
I feel
of
like
you.
Joy should have a scene.
Okay. All right, Joy. What you got?
We got a poisoner to see.
Oh shit, that's right. Okay, let's meet Saltpeter. So where I guess, did you just go to his shop?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been directed there, right? Like, that's the idea. Like, you should go see old Saltpeter. He's down on the corner of whatever and whatever street, and you just go down the alley and take the third door, and it's right there. You can't miss it.
Yep. So here's the thing about Saltpeter, and as also a result, his shop. It's the smell. There's this like eye-watering, like weird chemical. Just like, it's hard to be in here. It's difficult to breathe, and
All right.
it's jammed. It's like a weird sideshow alchemist shop. Like, the walls are covered in shelves, and the shelves are covered in jars, and there are like piles of like minerals just like on the counters in places. And and so you're in there, and in the back you can hear like rattling around as you open the door, and a little bell rings. And you hear someone in the back shout, Yes, I'll be there in a moment. Just
take your time.
And there's some more rattling, and then you hear like a little bit of a crashing, and then there's through the back. It's all quite like dark in here. You see a shape approaching. He's quite short, maybe like 5'3". And part of that is because he has some like deformity of the spine, so he's bent. I think he has probably like a burn on his face. Old like shiny scar on his face, and one of his eyes, he has a patch over it.
I also can't imagine this guy isn't missing at least one finger.
Yeah, definitely. And he comes out. And he looks at you and squints with his good eye. And
I'll like step into the light of the shop from outside and close the door.
And he points at you and he says, Stygian. Joy, court jester, though unemployed now, I suspect, after all the unpleasantness at the castle. You're in a bad neighborhood. What brings you down here?
she's a little taken aback at the sudden like outing of her whole existence. You know.
Is that at all like? Do we see it? Or are you just like kind of like you blink?
Yeah, there's a minute of like, oh.
So he's turned his back on you to go over to one of the shelves, and he shakes his head. Even like with his back to you, he shakes his head and he says, "Oh, now, dear, dear, don't be startled, don't be surprised. Nothing but secrets here. I won't tell anyone. I'm good at not telling anyone things."
Yes, well, that's good to know because I'm here for something that perhaps you can help me with.
I'm known for a good number of things. First among them, my alchemy. Second among them, my quietude. Everyone who comes into this shop is looking for something that they ought not be looking for. And sometimes they leave things they ought not leave behind. But you're a smarter sort than that, I think.
I like to think so.
He says, he looks at you and he hears you talking and he says, no trace of an accent. Were you born in Carpathia, or is that Inner Sea I hear?
More Inner Sea than Carpathia, I think.
He nods. He nods and he says,
I've been my fair share of places.
Yeah, he nods and says, it's the vowels, the way you pronounce the O, a bit different, more cultured, less drawn out, I think. Interesting. Did you know the common tongue made a change when they brought it here, took on loan words from the mountain folk? The forest, not so much. Guttural tongue, you don't hear it in the city very often, though more lately. People getting in touch with their heritage. A little afraid, I think, of where things are going in the kingdom. But you're not here for my linguistic expertise.
Well, I think it lends me a certain air of importance, you know. She says, like, straightening of her.
He nods and he says,
clothes,
air.
like going along with the joke.
Yeah, air of importance. Yes, the air is important. Sorry you can't breathe in here. I'm used to it, but first-time visitors, it's a bit acerbic. Your lungs will be fine, I assure you. And if they're not, we could make a deal for them. Once you've passed on, I'd love to take a look. Haven't dissected a Stygian in some time.
Apart from the sparkling discussion that we are having, and I am most riveted by all of your factoids, I'm here for something dangerous.
And he laughs and he says, my apologies. And he squints at you and he says, I don't feel quite right using your name of enslavement. Have you another I can address you by instead?
By birth, I am Tahira Nazari.
Tahira Nazari, beautiful. What does it mean in Stygian? Does it have like... I know this is putting you on the spot.
I haven't like thought of what it means, but it probably has a meaning. Some kind of like, you know, jewel of the sand.
Yeah, what do you want it to be?
Or what have you.
And maybe you don't, like Joy doesn't know. But...
I don't think Joy knows, yeah. Yeah, you put me on the spot here.
I know, I'm sorry, but he would know.
I don't have anything planned. It probably means something like poised and, you know, like there's two different words there.
They're not like connected to
like a last name.
Thing.
Yeah, they're not necessarily connected to each other. And like reverent, I think the last name.
Okay. Yeah. So you say Tahira Nazari, and he says, beautiful. Beautiful. You so rarely hear the native Stygian. Your pronunciation is terrible, but that can be forgiven. Lineage of priests. Did you know that?
No, I've never met really my... It's not important. My past, not important. What matters is now. And you seem like the kind of person who's very interested in these sorts of things. And so let me share with you something, my dear new friend.
I'm interested in all sorts of things.
I have one chance to make a good impression, which means if I want to continue surviving and keeping my wonderful name running, then what we do next has to be of quality. You understand?
He nods. Ah, yes. The first impression is always crucial. I'm terrible at them, but you've made quite an impression on me, girl.
I'm glad to hear that. It's my job to make impressions, or it was.
I've seen you do impressions before, just the once. A summer festival some years ago. It was lovely. You were able to say things no one else could. I think the court misjudged you. You're smarter than you pretend to be.
Yes. Well, let's get down to current affairs, shall we? I have some money available to me that I will happily trade to you in service for some of your delightful alchemy. Now, I could probably make something myself, but I am not a professional.
He says, you do yourself a misservice. Professionals are merely amateurs who've pulled the wool over the right people's eyes. I'm an amateur myself, though with lots of practice. I'm a terrible businessman. I always get caught up having conversations about things that don't matter, and you're here to give me money, which I can use to pay for this place, to continue my alchemy.
I think you misjudge yourself. Everything matters. Everything does. To someone.
And he laughs and he says, everything matters. It's a funny thing coming from a Stygian. But you're not really a Stygian, are you? Philosophy isn't in the blood. It's in the head.
She like sort of like takes that offensively because she's had to deal with everybody being like fucking Stygian, and now he's like, you're not even a Stygian really. And I'm like, oh, it's part of my identity. You know, you like, she like sort of winces at it.
Yeah, he sees that, and he says, of course, identity is just an illusion, a story we tell ourselves, and you're quite good at telling stories. I suspect if you wanted to be a Stygian, you could pretend well enough to fool just about anyone.
Or anything else, I suppose. But again, not the point.
While you're
Poison.
talking, he's coming up to you, and he's like trying to get past you because there's like space. He's like, excuse me, keep talking, I'm listening.
Like turns to face him as he like goes by.
Yeah, and his like one of his arms is kind of like limp at his side. You can see his fingers twitching, and he can kind of like raise his wrist a little, but he kind of like squeezes past you and apologizes, and he's like, I'm sorry, I can't afford a bigger space. Shady business requires shady corners. And he takes something off the shelf. And he seems to be like collecting things already. Like he's just pulling a couple of things off the shelf, and he like grabs a handful of little like crystals. And while you're talking, he's doing.
As I was saying, poison of the harmful variety, as lethal as possible. But if it just gives me a moment to follow up with something else, then that's fine too.
So do you want to kill this man? Or do you want to harm him? And if you want to kill him, would you like to have enough time to say something to him before he dies? I find most people like to have a moment to gloat.
I don't have to gloat. It's a job. It's work. I have nothing personal against this person.
He looks at you and he says, well, there's nothing wrong with taking pride in your work. And he comes back over to the counter, and he's got an armful of materials. And I think he grabs your cloak. And he like holds it up to his face, and he inhales. He's like breathes in, and lets it go. And he says, I'm sorry, that was rude. It's incense. I wasn't sure. I couldn't smell it at a distance. Nose isn't as good as it used to be. Stygian too, but not yours, I think.
Not mine.
You smell like the man from the Black Veil, which would explain the lotus. And he points down at your boots, and he says, just a tiny bit of the black powder. I saw it when you came in. Expensive stuff too.
I love this guy.
And he walks over and he like puts all these materials on the table.
So yes, lethal would be better.
Oh, we'll make something that'll kill the man stone dead. Do you want it to hurt?
Why not? Cheaper is better though. Lethal and cheap.
Well, you're in luck. The easy deaths are more expensive. I can make something that'll take weeks to turn you inside out. Longer than to trace it, though. Gives them a chance to get over it, too. You know, they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but in my experience, what doesn't kill you makes you weak. And he kind of looks, and he's like, I'm plenty weak, and they've tried to kill me more than once.
I've had a few moments myself.
And he nods, and he says, people underestimate slaves. You spend a whole life suffering. It's much harder to make you do what they want.
So, how much?
And he looks at the things that he's already assembled on the table, and he scratches his chin and he says, Give me a reason to give you a discount.
We've had such sparkling conversation.
He shakes his head.
And I will come back for more of this wonderful.
He shakes his head and he says, no. I want to know why. Who? It pleases me to know where my concoctions go. And when I hear on the street that a man died screaming like a baby and shitting himself, I take pride in my work, Miss Nazari.
And I like lean on the counter or wherever he's put the stuff and like lean in close to this person, and there's that horrible smell. And
and when you lean in, you gotta put your hands on the table. You lean in. He slides like a vial out of the way to give you space, and he looks at it and mutters like, "Careful now, fumes."
And she gets like close to him, and says, "First impressions, and you talk a lot. But fair enough for a discount. I'll tell you what, if you can make me something complete that I can use, then of course I'll tell you."
And he says, "What's the man's name?"
Are you familiar with Yorick Rooker?
It's Booker, but yes,
Booker. Yeah,
you say that. He nods and he says, "Yes, he's nobody."
We start with nobody. We go from there.
And he grins, and he says, "And why extinguish this nobody?"
Because the next nobody in line might pay their bills.
He nods. Usually they just break kneecaps, but I appreciate the business nonetheless. So I guess the question here is, are you buying the material to make the poison yourself?
I mean, that giving away that information was meant to be like you make the thing and I will use the thing, because it's not your work. If you can't take pride in your work if it's not your work.
I mean, he's sourcing the materials, but yeah, okay, sure, that makes sense. Let's have you make a persuade check.
Sure.
And if you succeed, then I'll keep that in mind. I'll give you a deal.
Okay. What am I?
Linked resources test or what?
Yeah, essentially. This is a linked test that is appropriate, and this is just persuade. It's not so much haggling.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's my ob here?
His will is 3.
Okie dokie.
As you can imagine, he has a massive perception, but only a will of 3.
What can I fork in, if anything? Can I fork in ugly truth? Like, I am going to kill this man with the things you give me?
I don't know that he considers that truth particularly ugly.
Yeah. God, I got nothing to fork. Slavery wise is not gonna help.
You could fork ugly truth if you told him that if you don't make this deal, then the person won't die.
I mean, he doesn't really care about the guy dying. He just wants to know that it'll happen.
All right, well, whatever. I'll just throw dice and we'll find out. It's gonna suck, but whatever. Another difficult test I don't need. Fucking. Okay, fate.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah.
Hey!
All right, roll it again.
You need to get it
There you
to
go.
increase it.
Cool. So now, link test. You have a bonus die on your resource test. And I think it's ob 2.
It's ob 2, so I have two.
This particular poison that'll kill a man. Not
so I
particularly.
have 2 coin worth of resources. So
you'll have 3. Make a resource test. You have 0 resources, but you get to add 3.
Add 3, yeah.
Because you're using.
Okay, here we go. Modifiers 3. Artha.
And with
Base
cash,
of
before you
two.
make this roll,
Yeah.
so the way cash works is if you get taxed, the cash on hand will just evaporate essentially. Either way,
Okay.
dice from the cash may be only used for one test. After the test, it's spent. Advantage dice are lost. And yeah, I can still give you what you need, but then you're basically like destitute. You're back to 0.
All right.
If you fail. If you succeed, you get to mark a test towards.
What?
Oh, it's not letting you roll because you have resources 0.
I'll just put 1 into research. You want me to just roll 3d6 against?
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird case because you're fiscally incapacitated.
Only
Okay.
got 1.
All right. So yes, you lose the.
Can you fate for a resource test?
Yes, yeah, but there's no 6s. So
No,
Oh,
no,
you
six.
can't re-roll the trigger or whatever. Oh, it's
it's not
open.
open-ended.
Wait, hold on. 3 die and the resource is 2. That's a routine resources test, or no? You don't test resources like that.
Yeah, you have to succeed to advance,
All right.
which is fine. You trade him your money for all the money you have, basically for the poison. And the other failure is that like you'll come back and tell him when you've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says he looks down the material and he takes your coin and he says a talisman to ward off the Reaper, and then looks at the pile and he says, a funny thing to push away with one hand and to draw closer with the other. I'll make your concoction. Give me a day.
I can give you a day. There are other things I have to prepare.
Okay.
I'll be back. And then, like, she turns to leave.
So before you go, you go to put your hand in the door. He stops and he says to you, he says, Miss Nazari, if you survive all this, we should have a talk about those dreams. And then he disappears into the back room.
She sort of like shakes her head just a little bit to herself and like pushes out into the cold street, pulling her cloak around herself. Like, oh fuck.
All right, so you head out into the street. Let's hand out some fate and persona points.
Yeah, I want some.
Let's start with Joy. So Joy, beliefs, instincts, traits that came into play.
Well, my dear friend, the one for Ekaterina and her establishment of valuable resources, I'll remind her who I am and see if I can get her on my side. I guess that's fate.
Yep.
And same for the one with truth, which is like ingratiating myself and securing his friendship. I did try.
Yep. Yeah, and you're on your way to doing both of those for sure.
So that's another fate, and I think that's it. Nothing else really came into play.
Yep, I think that makes sense. Okay, Alessandra Corvidae.
Yeah. My estate is in dire straits. I'll find a way to recover my funds before anyone can notice. I kind of did that. I'm not sure how
you work towards it. You work towards it. Yep. The success will be like recovering the tax. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
so
we'll
you're
talk about that in between.
filling me
I'll
in
look
on-
into it and think about how you can use this fund injection.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
fate for
yeah,
that one.
fate for that. And then I tried to get the king to listen to me about producing an heir, so that's fate for that.
Yep.
I ended up not doing the queen circle thing.
That's okay.
And I don't know.
I like that again. You think about rewriting that ingratiation instinct because you didn't ingratiate yourself to Ludwig. You were like, "Yo, let's do some business."
What do you mean I didn't?
Well, you didn't. You didn't ingratiate yourself to him. You weren't like, "Oh, friend Ludwig, welcome to the court." Like you were just kind of like, "Yo, dog, we gotta talk about this shit."
I mean, I tried. I lied to him about
What I mean is that maybe you don't. Maybe that's not instinctive in Alessandra anymore. Is all I'm just asking maybe to think about it. Not that like it's wrong or broken. Just something that maybe you want to think about. If it's still true, that's cool. You can be playing against it.
But that doesn't give me anything.
No. I was just I noticed it and I wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
Okay. Any of your traits? I think the fact that the whole conversation had to be so fucking clandestine and you had to dance around it was
Independent?
indicative of your independence. Yeah, you
Yeah.
you could really have like done this
Oh,
in a
yeah.
much easier way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Sure.
It's another fate for that one. Cool.
That was definitely what I was going off of in terms of like what she's done before.
Okay. Agatha.
Yeah. So I tried to send a message with a rat friend, and
You did,
my
yep.
poor rat friend died before we could even meet.
Yep.
I think that merits a fate,
It does.
and then maybe for my second belief as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm trying to figure out what they want and therefore how I can be of use.
Mhm.
And then always speak truth to power kind of got me in trouble. I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
I was just like, now your God's dead. You're all the same. You people suck. Like we're
mhm.
enemies, etc. Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Nice work.
Any of my traits you reckon?
Let me see. Your traits like came into play, Ratspeak and Wolverine, but they didn't not in unusual ways. Yeah,
Cool.
no, I don't think so.
Alright, so-
Inscrutable is going to be interesting to see later when they start asking you
Triple
questions.
Oh, I'm never going there again.
All right, and Lodewijk.
Yep. I completed my third belief. Negotiate a deal with Lady Alessandra.
Oh yeah, you
done it.
you totally did. Yeah.
I think I work towards creating opportunities and boosting the economy.
Oh, hold up. I have to ask an important question, Dave, pursuant to one of your instincts. Is the deal done before there's a contract?
Ah.
Yeah, I secured that the contract is done. I've made it done.
Yeah, because he gave it to the person. He doesn't have it in hand, but it will happen. Yeah, I think that's a good question. Yeah.
It is a good question.
I
If
mean,
hadn't had
but
that
like,
second
here's the
belief,
thing:
that would
is
be-
that if the contract isn't finished yet, because Alessandra hasn't signed it, that means you get Fate this session and Persona next session. Wouldn't you rather have both?
I'm not trying to raise a big stink about it or anything.
No, that's a good point. So is the deal complete? Well,
'Cause I
also like, yeah, does the contract require that they both sign it, or like, how does that? I mean, I assume it does. The other thing
This
is,
could also be something that happens
here's a
in
question,
Paradox
but Blue Jay,
Street.
this is a question for you.
Yeah.
You're not going to say no to signing the contract, right? Like that can all just happen off screen, so that Dave
That's
can
what I
make,
would- like,
yeah.
yeah.
So Dave can just make a new belief, take Persona now, and be done with it.
And so, yeah, like
I don't think there's any.
if there's going to be no more interesting stuff.
No,
going
Yeah.
on,
I think
then
I think that particular
Was
belief
it?
is done. That scene was enough to resolve it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
But worth asking. Yeah.
How do we qualify that? I work towards bettering someone's life by creating opportunity by making the guy servant.
I think fate for that. Yep.
Wait for that. In terms of my instinct, I do still want a fate point for always formalize deals with a contract. That whole scene could have just been done if I'd just been like, yep,
Yeah, you could have just shaken hands and not pursued the contract. Definitely.
yep. Boys have cash on hand, didn't come up, never go anywhere, didn't come up. I think as well, the way I went about dealing with Alessandra was made much more difficult by how forward I was. When I could have tried to flatter her or like do anything like that, so she didn't see me as an enemy in the end.
Does that sound fair to you, Blue Jay?
What do you mean?
Was Lodewijk's forwardness a complicating factor for you in negotiating with him?
I'm trying to think like what it was, because for Alessandra, the reason that
He was being a pushy, jumped up merchant. Basically.
the reason that she works again, like is mad at him, is because he was basically working against her independent trait, right?
Right,
So
but that's not
was that because of his forwardness. Is that
no.
you
So
were-
what Dave is saying is that if he had been deferential and not read your books, like did the fact that he was pushing really hard make you play Alessandra more guardedly?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Right.
Like he could have, if I feel like if he would have been more,
If he had treated you like a noble.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
he didn't do. Yeah. Well, that was the thing is I really like that I gave you that bonus die for the etiquette and you were just like, nah, fuck that shit. I don't need that.
Yeah. It remains to be seen whether I'm ever going to open etiquette.
Yeah.
I'll
Sure.
leave that on the side, and I appreciated the extra dice, and it was interesting. But at the same time, if I go through this staying successful and never open etiquette, I'll be pretty happy actually.
Yeah. And I think I was gonna say there's room there to give you fate for self-satisfied, but I think it goes above and beyond that. And I want to nominate you for embodiment for the like, I'll give you a bonus die if you say please. Like that smug, self-satisfied, like you have a trait that you were really like
That
pushing for.
wasn't Dave's character.
No,
That
but
was
he did play it. Like it was on the character's face. He was like we knew that it was the character that wanted that satisfaction.
Yeah, I don't. As me, I also think it was funny, but the reason I did it was because my character's all been about being self-satisfied, hating nobles,
So it's a
want to see you
let
scorn.
me read the description of it of embodiment. We've given it a couple of times, I think, in this campaign. Let me see.
Well, but the thing here is that like Dave out of character asked for like I'll give you a bonus die if you'll say please, but the only thing he did in character was like I make this face.
Okay, but listen, it's when a player captures the mood of the table perfectly and further drives the story onward, a persona point is awarded. Moments like great speeches, desperate decisions, gruesome revenge. It's a tough award to get, but it's going above and beyond in role playing. And like I get that you didn't feel like it was as in character, but I feel like we know we're playing characters, right? Like
Yeah.
Dave expressed it in character and out of character and used the mechanics to express it. I don't know what
Sure.
I'm nominating.
I mean,
So that's
sure.
1-4. It sounds like Blue Jay is against. So Andrew
that's
and
fine.
Elf.
So here's my position on this. Like, I agree that it was cool.
It was an interesting
But
moment.
also, I
But-
think there have been several moments that are exactly as
Well, that's
cool.
why we need to nominate this shit.
Didn't
Right?
get
Well,
that.
But that's not on Dave. That's not Dave's
I
fault.
feel, but
No, of course.
it says in the description that if he role played that,
But it says when a player captures the mood of the table, right? Like
yeah.
but they're the next sentence like and they role play whatever. I don't think that Dave's role play in that instance was
For me, it doesn't drive the story forward, which is part of the requirements listed, and that it's not it wasn't like a big moment. This was like a cool little detail, and I would want to award Dave for it in some way. I just don't know if this is the thing for it. Like, and this is also like
maybe
a
more like
funny
humor.
thing where
it wasn't funny though. It was I felt like, just as a counterpoint, I felt like it captured the power differential in the scene perfectly, right? It was
I agree that it was brilliant in terms of like as a
Yeah, there's no disputing that.
I think that the moment was good, and if Dave had said more than like a single sentence
Right,
of I make
but why? The thing is, though, is that means that when we want to get this award, we have to pontificate. We have to be like, and then I do this, and I do these things, and I do this. Like, I think there's value in rewarding subtle moments too, like not having to overdo it.
We're gonna award this a bit more generously moving forward because we've been really
Again, if
withholding
I can't
in
be
it.
the only one saying
No.
that, like y'all
Yes.
can nominate each other.
I
We can have
had
this
literally
conversation.
not a single idea that it was even possible for me to
So
say
let's
that I wanted to give it out.
let's
Oh,
do
yeah.
this more in future.
Now that I
And-
do, we will. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good.
Sure.
So yeah, given the point, and let's be on point about actually handing these out.
I mean, I'm always the one that nominates them, but yeah, it is you can nominate as well.
Yeah.
Same for
Totally.
same for the other ones too, right? Like
Yeah, I wasn't aware that
Including
I
you
was
voted MVP for the
Breaker,
scenario.
personal
and-
goal,
capable
workhorse.
of me to like invoke that nomination necessarily.
Totally.
All right, cool.
Cool. And that's everybody.
Reading through these, there's also I'm reminded of the like guiding principle behind them, which is like they feel very us working together oriented a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which-
like some of
which is-
those will just never come up in our game because of
Yeah.
the structure of the game, and that's fine.
Because like workhorse or right skill, right time, or a
Yeah,
bunch of
those
the
don't
other
really
ones are
matter.
Very much like we are a party adventure.
However, like MVP matters when you are independent of the other players. the workhorse is like they're harder for us to assess, but you can still earn workhorse in this because it's like this particular arc of the game would not have gone the way it did and wouldn't have carried on with the momentum it did except for you having this skill.
Yeah, we need to take a stance of being more open about all of these things.
Yeah, again, I'm only a fifth of the people who are responsible for this stuff. So
no, and I'm not directing this at you, Adam. I'm just saying, like, we as a table need to
okay. Well,
emphasize this a little more because we haven't had these come up very much.
Make that homework. It's on page 63. Just like take a flip through those, and see how you can earn these, and then how we can reward each other for them.
Yeah. Like we all just need to keep those in mind in a session because there were lots of moments that could qualify for that we just glossed over as being like, yeah, we're all awesome. Like, cool, right?
It's the inspiration problem all over again, right? Where like the problem with if you get a A+ on every report card, it's much harder to like acknowledge there's nowhere else to go. So when you're doing great, like if we were all starting off kind of awkward and like, and then somebody's like, I talk in a funny accent, we could all be like, ooh, neat, but we're all like pretty invested.
We all expect so much from each other as far as this goes, and are so old hat at it that we're
with each other as players, right? Like,
and we played with each other so much, all this kind of stuff. So I think it's good practice for us.
This is your job too, chat. So you're not as caught up in that weird space as we are. So if we get to this part of an episode and you think that someone should get one of the awards, go read page 63, chat. That's your homework for next time.
Write a book report on
write a book report on handing out things. Cool. Okay. So let's say our goodbye until tomorrow, our less than 24 hours of not playing games together. Elf, skulking in the shadow, meeting weird alchemists. When you're not doing those things, where can we find you?
My dear friends, if you wish to find me at twitch.tv/distractedelf or on Twitter at distractedelf, I am creating plausible deniability for my stabbing of future people in those places. So go there, check them out. It's real good. My alibi.
Very nice. Thank you. Blue Jay, why don't you go next?
I had to click this button. Hi, I'm Blue Jay. You can find me at twitch.tv/BlueJay or on Twitter at BlueJay_712. And that's me.
I can't hear someone say underscore without expecting to hear the underscore human. It's just like my brain is broken now. So why don't we do that, Dave? Dave, where can people find you on the internet?
Underscore the human. No, wait.
Dave underscore the underscore human.
Yeah. That's me on Twitter. Dave underscore the underscore human. And hold on. Dave underscore human on Twitter and Twitch. Damn it. I can never remember if I put an underscore in it, but I did. That's where you can go as well if I want to do a thing. I don't know.
If you just Google Dave Human, I get Dave underscore the underscore human. Right there.
I'm at the top Google himself.
And for me, apparently there was also a Muppet called Dave the Human, which I didn't know. So
really,
there you go. Look at that, learning stuff
okay. I'll look that up after. I just wanted to shout out and say thank you so much, Blue Jay, for letting me establish my character against yours. I was super worried for a while that Lodovec wouldn't be as interesting as Miro, but I think we're getting there now. I feel comfortable with him, even if it's just him being an asshole.
I'm really excited to see this new business deal come to fruition. So,
yeah.
I would love to see
working with you, even though you're not
characters ever become friends.
Mm-hmm.
I just want people to be friends.
Well, if you weren't trapped in prison, I was going to go after you today.
Let's be friends.
Well, it's fine. This is not friend day. Tomorrow is friend day. Tomorrow's grumpy adventure friend day. So, last but not least, Andrew.
Well, I have a big investment in friendship because I'm writing a game called Girl by Moonlight that is really about friendship in a lot of ways. It is a magical girl hack who blades in the dark, and you can find that and various sundry other things by me at Comedian Crow on Twitter or twitch.tv/actualfactual, where I am designing my game and also painting miniatures on Saturday. So if you want to watch that,
nice.
Come check it out. Making my elves and their cool robots. Look at this cool robot. I'm gonna be painting this cool robot.
It's a cool robot.
Shooting guns out of its fists.
Rad.
That's me.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. I am the game master of this and other games on the internet. My name's Adam Coble. You can find me at twitch.tv/Adam Coble. I'm going to play some Horizon Zero Dawn DLC later today. And you can catch me on my channel all kinds of times doing the RP stuff too. That's it for us for this week. Next week we're taking a hiatus on this and our D&D show, but we'll be back the week after. Use it as an opportunity to do your Burning Wheel homework, and we will see you. We'll see you in a couple weeks for more. I think that we'll probably be running some podcasts, doing some special stuff here while we're off for the week. So keep an eye on the Twitter and the other social medias for that, and we will be back tomorrow here and on twitch.tv/D&D for Tomb of Annihilation, which I'm loving altogether more than I expected to. I'm having a great time with that show. So if you haven't watched it yet,
really good.
yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, check it out. I do a pretty mean Axe Beak impression, I will say. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
This stream is brought to you by Roll20, an easy-to-use virtual tabletop dedicated to making tabletop RPGs accessible to everyone. Join the adventuring party at roll20.net.